Is there anything, Mr. Clark, Ms. Nimick, we want to place on the record this afternoon other than simply continuing this matter?
Well, not regarding mediation or the next court date, but there was an issue that was raised during mediation, and I need to raise it for my client. Mr. Garcia moved out of the marital home back in February. He continues to stop by the home on a regular basis, unannounced, disrupting the home and doing what we don't know. In fact, today, he is at my client's home doing the Zoom hearing today. And it's bothersome to my client. There's absolutely no reason he should be there. He does his parenting time at my client's home, which is on the weekends, which is fine because my client is there as well. But there's really no reason he has to keep dropping by.
How does he have a key? If it's your client's home, how does he have a key?
It was his home as well until he moved out.
Oh, all right. It's a marital home. He said it's your
It's a
client's
marital
home.
But
Okay, you said it's your
out.
client's home.
Well, he
All right.
moved out. He just bought another home.
That's
We don't
that's
know
not
where,
accurate.
we don't know where he's been residing for the last 6 months.
All
But
right,
here
so
he is.
Ms. Nimick, okay, hold on just a minute, Mr. Clark. Mr. Nimick, your client is opposed to an exclusive use of the home to the defendant?
He is opposed, and we did cover this in mediation. First off, it's inaccurate that it's Ms. Garcia's home. As the court has surmised, it is marital property. Secondly, Mr. Garcia has not actually moved out of the property. Mr. Garcia stays at his brother's house when he is not conducting his parenting time with the children. He has parenting time 3 overnights per week with the children in the marital home. And since we're on the subject, there's a status quo in place under which Mr. Garcia pays every single marital bill. He also gives Ms. Garcia an additional $350 per week to provide food, household supplies. In addition, she has her income. And when Mr. Garcia comes to the home to exercise his parenting time, she locks up all of the food, the toiletries, and requires him to bring food for himself and the children 3 nights a week, even though he's giving her $350 every week and paying all of the marital expenses. He has no place to put his property. He has not actually moved out of that home. It would not be appropriate for her to have exclusive use of this home, and that's why he does not agree.
That's
Mr.
rather
Garcia-
disingenuous.
Mr.
Judge.
Garcia sleeps in the home a couple nights a week, is that correct?
3 nights a week, yes.
Well, it doesn't sound like he's really, if in fact he had vacated Mr. Clark, that's one thing, but it sounds like he's spent 3 nights a week sleeping in the home.
The only
So,
reason he does that,
The court will not grant exclusive use today. If you want to file a motion, notice up for hearing, but under those circumstances, the court's not inclined to boot him out of the house unless there's domestic violence in the home. He's disruptive. Right now, the parties, apparently it's working that he's exercising overnights in the home, sleeping in the home.
we have no objection to him coming to the house during his parenting time, but he's just stopping over for 10 minutes here and there, and it is disruptive to the family. It's disruptive to the kids. They don't know what to think of it. There's no reason he should be there. And yes, there is a status quo. The guy makes over $100,000 a year. My client makes $800 a month.
Okay, Ms. Nimick, any objection to simply a courtesy communication? They shall not just show up?
Absolutely not. And we agreed to that in the mediation. We had no problem with him giving a courtesy
So
communication.
we can prepare an order to that effect, Mr. Clark, that Mr. Garcia shall not just show up unannounced in the home, that he's got to provide advance notice.
How much advance notice, Judge?
What do you suggest? I mean, an hour? I mean, he should know. He shouldn't just show up at 5 minutes ahead of time.
Yeah, but again, here, my client's here in my office and he's at the home. We don't know what he's doing.
And he shouldn't just be coming and going without her approval, without her knowledge, I should say. Perhaps her approval is not necessary, but at least her knowledge. If in fact Mr. Garcia is back and forth living there part-time, it sounds like, and he's not eating meals there, he's just sleeping overnight.
Well, actually, since we're on the topic, I'd like to address that. He is exercising his parenting time there. And as I stated, Your Honor, there's a status quo in place where Mr. Garcia pays absolutely every marital expense and in addition provides Ms. Garcia with $350 per week. He would like to be able to eat meals there. However, Ms. Garcia literally locks up the toilet paper. She locks up all of the food. The 3 nights a week that he is there exercising his parenting time, she requires him to bring food for himself and the children instead of allowing him to use the food that is in the home. When we determined the $350 per week, it was at our last hearing with the assistance of Mr. Walker, who was kind enough to mediate with us today. We used the parties' past expenses. We went over months of groceries to determine an average. Obviously, at that time, Mr. Garcia lived in the home and was consuming food and household products. We actually came up to less than $350 per week to compensate Ms. Garcia for exactly what she was spending when Mr. Garcia was there 100% of the time, and we added $50 to it. So there's absolutely no reason why Ms. Garcia should be locking up household products when Mr. Garcia is in the home.
There's 5 reasons, Judge, and the 5
Hold on, hold on.
5
This is
reasons
not
are
a
for
trial. It's
5
pretty
children.
childish. Let's get the home on the market. The only reason why we cannot list that home on the market, they need to liquidate this home. They can't share the home. It's clear.
Where's
We
my
agree.
client going to go?
Well, I mean, I guess we will have proceeds to sell the home. I mean, it's got to be liquidated. If the parties cannot share the home, it seems pretty childish that she locks up toilet paper, locks up food. I mean, we've got to bring this to an end. So any reason why we cannot get the home on the market?
The parties agreed to sell the home. Ms. Garcia
It's
would
ordered
not.
that the parties list the home forthwith.
Okay.
Can they agree upon a realtor?
We
We
discussed
have not
today.
agreed on a realtor.
Okay,
Mr.
let's get this on the
Walker,
market before school begins.
Mr. Walker
pro-
informed me that we had an agreement as to, unless I misunderstood, that we agreed to use Dorothy Clark at Coldwell Banker.
No, we did not. I never heard of her name. He mentioned it. We talked about Caldwell Banker, but he did not recommend any realtor specific.
Does your client have an objection to this Dorothy Clark?
My client has an objection, Judge, to listing the home now because her and her 5 children will be homeless as soon as that home sells.
Well, they can negotiate a closing date, an occupancy date.
There's a reason that the plaintiff was ordered to pay the mortgage is because he's been doing it for 12 years. That's the status quo. He makes $100,000 a year. My client makes $200 or less a week. You do the $350 divided by 5 kids. That doesn't make 15 meals, Judge.
She has, in addition to
And
her
by
own
ordering,
income,
and
which
by
Mr. Clark,
ordering the immediate sale of the home is going to make her homeless with the 5 kids.
Well, at some point in time, we have to sell the home, don't we, Mr. Clark?
I'm sorry?
Don't we have to sell the home at some point in time?
It would be nice to be able to do it in a timely basis.
Well, let's talk about that timely basis. In the meantime, so if you're opposed to it, the court will not order the immediate listing of the home. The court will back off that, but the court will order that Mr. Garcia provide 1 hour advance notice to Ms. Garcia before he enters the home. 1 hour.